Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into the profound theological shift found in Isaiah 40, verses 27 through 31. We're going to map out exactly how to move your perspective from total human exhaustion to Yahweh's unending creative power. If you've ever felt literally drained by the relentless demands of life, you're in the right place.
Let's kick things off by diagnosing a very modern feeling. We're calling it entropic anxiety. You know that heavy, muted feeling? It's kind of like looking at life through a backrooms lens. You feel trapped in this maze of endless procedural exhaustion, a state where God feels distant, silent, and just completely removed from your day-to-day reality.
But as you'll see here, we definitely aren't the first people to feel this way. The ancient Israelites felt this exact same procedural exhaustion during their Babylonian exile. Picture this: surrounded by the massive, intimidating ziggurats of the Babylonian Empire, they felt microscopic, invisible. They actually believed their just claims were being completely ignored by their Creator, crying out that their way was completely hidden from God.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, the crisis of entropic anxiety. Then, the perception theology trap, followed by the power of creo-continua. After that, entering God's sabbataclar rhythm, and finally, the workflow of formation. Let's get into it. Section 1. The crisis of entropic anxiety. Let's look at the root of the problem: being stuck down in the trenches of human experience.
So, when we feel microscopic and abandoned, we often slide into what scholars call practical atheism. Now, this doesn't mean you just suddenly stop believing in God. It means you believe a creator exists out there somewhere, sure, but you're living as though he's entirely unconcerned with your personal struggles. We start judging God's character based solely on our immediate, exhausting circumstances, instead of what we actually know to be true about him.
Section 2. The perception theology trap. This perfectly brings us to the flawed thinking behind all this anxiety.
The crucial point here is that Israel's problem, and frankly ours too, isn't God's absence. It's our own limited perception of his hidden, ongoing governance. We call this the perception theology trap, and it's basically a major failure of discernment. Listen, just because God's administration is invisible to us at any given moment absolutely does not mean his sovereign governance has stopped. Simply put, God's silence is never evidence of his absence.
Section 3. The power of creo-continua. To break out of this earthly despair, we've got to elevate our gaze from the dirt right up to the cosmos. Check out this vibrant, infinite truth. Isaiah reminds the people that God is olam, which means he exists beyond time, and he is bor, the creator. And that's not just a past tense title. It means he is continually sustaining the universe right this very second. Because his understanding is unsearchable, he never experiences what we could call decreational fatigue. He doesn't get tired of managing the cosmos, and he for sure doesn't get tired of managing your life.
When we put these two realities side by side, the difference is just staggering. Look at the downward cycle of human entropy. Even the strongest among us, youths and young men who represent peak human vitality, they inevitably faint and fall completely exhausted. Human strength always hits a physical wall. But contrast that with God. His continuous administration is a limitless, infinite loop of cosmic energy. He measures the oceans in the hollow of his hand, and he never, ever grows weary.
Section 4. Entering God's sabbatical rhythm. So how exactly do we build a bridge from our human depletion over to his endless cosmic energy?
Well, according to Isaiah, the ultimate remedy is waiting on the Lord. But hold on. Forget your modern idea of just sitting passively in a waiting room. The Hebrew word used here is kawah. This is an active, eager expectation. It literally carries the imagery of being twisted or firmly bound together, like the strands of a thick rope. So waiting on God is actually an active attachment to him, not some passive, helpless delay.
And to wait actively like that, we have to view our circumstances through what we call the judicial time extension lens. We have to recognize that divine timing operates completely differently than our human rushing. God's sovereign administration works on a perfect sweeping timeline that totally defies our modern demand for instant results. When we wait, we're deliberately trusting the timing of the Creator who literally numbers the stars.
This kind of active waiting is really an invitation into God's rest ontology. It's a deliberate sabbatical rhythm. Isaiah uses this fascinating Hebrew concept of chalaph, which gets translated as renew, but it actually means a literal exchange. It's a real game changer.
You are actively making an exchange of your depleted, entropic human frailty for his inexhaustible cosmic strength. You bring your weakness, and he supplies the stamina.
Section 5. The workflow of formation. Let's look at how we actually practice this profound truth in our daily lives.
We can map Isaiah's promise straight onto a believer's workflow. First up is the obstacle. You have to acknowledge your entropic exhaustion and human limits. Remember, God reserves his power for those who know they're weak. Step 2 is the understanding. You elevate your gaze and recognize God as the unwearied creator, that creatio continua we talked about. And finally, the practice. You actively wait, or quaha, deliberately binding yourself to him and exchanging your weakness for his strength.
And check out the descending sequence of this divine deliverance. It actually starts with soaring on wings like eagles, a massive, majestic surge of initial rescue. Then, it transitions into running without weariness for that midterm endurance. But look where it deliberately concludes, walking faithfully, day by day, step by step without fainting. That is actually the most mature, sustained expression of God's power operating in a believer's life.
At the end of the day, there is only one inexhaustible source. Just one. There is only one creator capable of numbering every single star in the cosmos while simultaneously and intimately supplying your daily stamina to walk through the wilderness of life.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this incredibly vibrant reality. Contrary to how you might feel in your darkest moments of exhaustion, your way is absolutely not hidden from the Lord. So what's your next move? How will you stop the endless rushing, actively exchange your exhaustion for the Creator's endless strength, and deliberately step into his sabbatical rhythm this week?